or in Aquarius in Navamsha and Dashamsha, which further strengthens it. Then Guru in Lagna is also a highly favorable factor, especially that he gets Nicha Bhanga. Though 3rd and 12th Lord, the maleficence of the 3rd and 12th Lordship is diffused.
Okay. Because it
and
is...
Guru is also in extreme retrogression in the 7th from the Sun.
Correct. Because it is getting Nicha Bhanga, the maleficence is reduced, or because it is the 3rd and the 12th Lord in Nicha?
In Lagna, I think. I would put it that way.
Okay. Irrespective of that factor. Okay. Speaking of, you just mentioned about the balancing factor of horoscope of the wife, spouse. While matching charts.
What about the coffee?
Oh, it has come? Let's have it. Let's have it.
It must have gone high school.
I didn't know. Sorry, so sorry. You should have. Speaking of horoscope matching, any points that you consider important not to overlook while matching of horoscopes?
See, matching is a relative assessment of the two charts. But before you do that, you have to check on the soundness of the chart proposed. So if the girl's family comes to you, then you check the boy's horoscope on certain very important factors. One is longevity, at least a broad assessment of longevity. Then physical and mental health. Because many times schizophrenic people you can't make out at all. They're good socializers, everything is nice about them. But only after you get hooked to them, you know how difficult it is to live with them. So based on the position of the moon, Buddha, 5th house, you ensure they have sound mental health. After that, I think you should move on to the relative assessment, in which the most important part is the balancing of the malefic content in the two charts. So according to most classical works, Saturn, Sun, Rahu-Ketu, Mars are defined as malefics, and their occupation of certain houses related to family life. First house, second is Kutumbasthana. First is of course the pivot, and therefore the second Kutumbasthana, fourth is Sukhasthana, seventh is Kalatrasthana, eighth is Mangalyasthana, 12th is Shaina Sukha. Malefics in these houses produce disturbance in these areas of life. So if balanced by similar factors in the other horoscope, then the two get along.
Can you give an example of balance? How would the balance happen?
The simplest is that Mars is in the 7th or the 8th. From either the Lagna, the Moon or Venus, it produces Kuja Dosha. So if you have a similar placement in the other chart also, it balances the evil of Kuja Dosha. Rahu in the 8th is also not a very good thing to have, especially if one is going to pass through Rahu Dasha in the prime years of life. Usually Moon or Mars Bhukti of such a Rahu can lead to loss of spouse through death mostly. Now it's also divorce also. So when there is such a placement, you look for a similar placement in the other chart also.
Okay. Suppose, is there an issue with Saturn-Sun? You know, some traditionalists go with the girl's Saturn and balancing it, or the Sun not being. Suppose Saturn is in the 8th house and opposite is Sun. Then
in the second, is it?
Yeah, of the
other person.
boy. Yeah.
No, that I'm not aware of.
Okay. Okay. I was speaking to a postman in Madhya Pradesh, who's supposed to be a traditional astrologer. And I'd asked him about, because another traditional guy in Gujarat had told me that in the girl's horoscope, if Saturn and Sun are opposite each other, then problems come in her marriage. And the husband will have a downfall. As soon as, I found it working in one chart. But in that chart, in the Navamsha that is happening, Saturn-Sun, of the girl.
Okay.
So when I spoke to this postman guy, he said, no, that thing will work, but only till the age of 42. That is what he said. So, have you heard of anything like this?
Even relating to Kuja Dosha, some of my friends say that it ceases to work after 28 years or some period like that. No, but I don't think it's that way. It works if not matched properly. It leads to a breakdown of the marriage, either through death or divorce.
Sade Sati, how do we judge, for some it will be great, some it will be bad. Is it purely on lordship of Saturn or?
To some extent on the lordship. As father would always say for Aquarius, Capricorn, Libra and Taurus, Sade Sati may not be very harsh. For other ascendants it could prove very difficult. But then it also depends upon, the rest of the chart and which dashas you are running. So during Sade Sati there may be changes. Depending upon your birth chart, the changes may be for good or for bad.
Okay. There are these traditional standard dictums, so-called dictums, like Saturn in the 8th house confers longevity. Does it always work?
Yes, Saturn in the 8th comes under an exception. Ayush Karaka and Ayusthana promotes longevity.
But does it work 100%?
Yeah, most times I've seen it work.
Okay.
But in the final years of their life, they become very lonely.
Saturn in the 10th, they say, causes a downfall at least once in life.
If it takes you very high, then there's a downfall. Okay. If it takes you nowhere, where will you fall from?
Okay. Coming back to this horoscope matching, I missed a few points. I have this written down. If the groom has Rahu in the 1st house and Ketu in the 7th, and the bride has Ketu in the 1st and Rahu in the 7th, does it equal Papa Samyam?
Yeah, you can take that as balancing.
Yeah. Okay. If one party has a malefic like Saturn in the 1st house, and the other person has Sun in the 7th, other points being satisfied, does it constitute a dosha?
Saturn in the ascendant.
And the other person has Sun in the 7th.
There is no matching at all between the two.
Okay.
Yeah.
It should be rejected.
Yeah.
Okay. Of the Gunas to be matched in today's time, which Gunas hold the place of importance, Kutas?
I don't give importance to Gunas at all.
Yeah.
Maybe just 10-15%.
Okay.
Subject to the fact the moon is afflicted. Otherwise it does not make a difference is what I feel.
Okay, if moon is afflicted, then you give it to
In one of the charts, very heavily afflicted.
Okay.
And they say they are in love, they have to marry. Then I look for help from the Kuta agreement factor.
Okay.
But it doesn't really help also.
Okay. But I presume the classics
Because
also...
in many of these works, they give, the status of a decisive piece of criteria for the Guna matching, Guna Kuta agreement.
Okay.
But that's what I used to see in many charts where this agreement was there, and also Samasaptaka, which is highly extolled. The marriages would break down and reach a point of no return. Either they would separate or there would be so much bitterness and anger between the couple, the marriage was not worth anything or it would end in divorce and separation, etc.
Okay.
So that was when I started looking at dosha samya and other factors, and where in some cases where the matching on the count of guna or kuta agreement was very high, I would find that the groom had died in a swimming accident 6 months after the marriage or something like that.
Okay.
So if they were supposed to lead a happy and long married life,
Okay.
if the gunas were in agreement, why did this happen?
Okay.
So that was when I started thinking and finding that you had to look at other factors also before taking up the matching proper.
Okay.
So if the boy has no longevity, just because the girl has a good horoscope or whatever, you cannot say to take care of his longevity also.
See, usually there's this saying that 32 points got matched, 36 points.
Very misleading, very misleading.
But the whole of India follows this point system.
It follows because maybe there is no proper, teaching in that respect.
Okay.
That is one of the reasons why, if astrology is brought into the university,
Okay.
all of these issues will be, clearly discussed and defined, and students trained.
Correct.
So over a period of time, everybody took the simple way out.
Yeah.
And most times when the Guna clearance is given, Kuta agreement clearance is given, it comes from the family priest who is not at all an astrologer, and he is given a dakshina of 2 betel leaves, 2 betel nuts, 1 coconut, 2 rotten bananas, and a 5 rupee note. And if a 5 rupee note is not available, a 1 rupee coin. To make life's most important decision. So you get what you deserve is what I feel.
Why does a Mars in the 7th, what does Mars in the 7th do to a person? Why divorce or separation? Why? What's the logic?
There is no logical explanation for any of the placements, planetary placements in different houses.
People have just come up with their own theories, isn't it?
Not people haven't. It's more of a script, I think,
Okay.
to understand the karmic patterns. And this has been discovered by the great rishis of India.
No, nowadays people give some logic, the younger crowd.
But that logic is ill-founded, not acceptable. I don't accept all that nonsense.
That's what I always say. Unless the rishi has given the logic, it's just our own theory.
Yeah.
Correct.
You sit in a pub and over a glass of beer, you give your conclusions. How valid can they be when you're dealing with something as intricate as the laws of karma?
Correct. Speaking of karma, how does one see what we did in the past life from our horoscope?
That I don't think we can see.
Yeah.
If you can make out, it's because you have certain other supernatural powers. But from the horoscope, you cannot say that.
Which is the house of past life in the...
5th house, the whole horoscope shows the past lives.
No,
The immediate past life you can't say also, because the 5th is the Purva Punya Sthana. That means the house of merit only. What about demerit? The Dusthanas you can see, especially the 8th house. But at the same time, the 8th house is also one of the more important moksha trikonas. So it's very complex.
What if malefics are there in the 5th house? Mars Rahu or Saturn Rahu in the 5th house. How do we interpret such a chart in the context of karma and the previous karma?
No, I don't think we can be looking at what happened in the past birth. And I don't think we should also be doing that. We can only say the results, what the likely results are to be. Like Shani and Rahu or Mars or Rahu in the 5th may make you vulnerable to addictions. So some kind of destructive habits. Shani and Rahu may make you a very difficult person with, almost cold-blooded, a moron, with unfeeling. So it can give you certain traits which are nothing but what you carry over from past lives.
In terms of upayas, what do you follow? What did Ramansa follow as the most general and best upaya?
He would always prescribe the Mahamrityunjaya mantra Japa.
The common man is not able to do it,
What do you do? What does the common man do if the doctor prescribes a kidney transplant?
He goes to a doctor.
Hmm?
He goes to a doctor, the doctor gets
He
it.
affords it somehow. How many can afford all these transplants and major surgeries and doctor's bills? But they do something about it, find the money somehow and go about it, only to take back the dead body. Here also you have to exert. See, for something as simple as getting a clerical job, you have to do 3 years of preschool, nursery, LKG, UKG, 10 years of school, 13 years, 1 year of, let us say, PU, 1 or 2 years, that is 15 years, then 3 years of graduate studies, 18 years. And 18 years, mostly from 9 to 5, you are engaged in this effort. At the end of it, what do you get? You don't get a job with these qualifications. When you find this happening, then when you have to balance or work out some serious karmic result, you think lighting a thill oil lamp for Saturn every Saturday for 4 weeks will solve all your problems. Isn't it a bit unrealistic? So there are prescriptions that may cost quite a bit, but they're very effective if done properly by competent people. So you can't say every Saturday I went to the Ganapati temple for 4 weeks, but still nothing happened. 18 years you spent for a degree which is not worth the paper on which the certificate is printed. So people have to be educated on all this.
How many times, how many malas of Mahamrityunjaya every day?
No, if it's a remedial measure, it has to be done by the priest, unless you know the methods of doing it yourself.
As a daily sadhana?
So the minimum is 8,000.
8,000.
And then it has to be accompanied by Mrityunjaya Homa.
Okay.
Then Navagraha Japa, Navagraha Shanti and Annadana. So it will cost quite a bit, but it is worth every penny spent on it.
Navagraha Japa, that is of each planet several
Yeah,
times.
people who are well versed in it will know like how many to do.
Okay.
There is a minimum number for each of the planets which you get in all panchangas.
Okay. And
But it has to be done in the prescribed manner.
for an astrologer,
Hmm.
what kind of daily sadhana he should follow
I think personal ethics are very, very important.
more than the mantras?
Yes.
How did Dr. Raman Saab deal with the crooks in astrology? I mean, yesterday also I asked the same question. I mean,
He just ignored them.
no, did he face opposition from people when he brought out this knowledge to the common masses from the paramparas? Did he face opposition?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. Which, the golden question, which transits have you found working effectively for ups or downs? I mean, some of the transits that you remember, which are very, very bang on and easy to interpret also.
The Astama Shani works with unfailing regularity, throwing your life out of gear
Okay.
more than any other transit.
Yeah. What would Saturn over Saturn do?
That's an important phase when life takes a crucial turn, not necessarily evil,
Huh.
but you grow up with the first transit of Saturn or natal Saturn.
Okay.
It's between 28 and 30 years.
Okay.
So your life takes a new direction.
Okay.
It may be in the form of career,
Okay.
or it may be in the form of your turning inwards,
Huh.
having experienced a frustrating previous 2 years.
Okay.
So you may become more spiritually oriented,
Okay.
or your career takes a new turn, a better turn.
Okay.
But usually 28 to 30 are difficult years for most people,
Okay.
but not bad years.
Okay. Can I just take a break for a minute?
Yeah.